What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. So good to see you. We got some new faces here, which does my heart good. We got the old gang up in the room. Look, we got Emma. We got Tracy. What up? Riley's here with Paula. How y'all doing? Bradley and Taylor. My good friend Matthew. How goes it, my friend? How are you? Yes, forsooth and indeed. Forsooth and indeed. Jared in the building. Jared, great to see you. Shelly just on the coastline over here. Very ominous, very mysterious. I love it. Your friend, host of the Digital Edge, Ellie Ronning. Ellie, how are you? Great to see you. And my good friend, who we'll talk about in a second here, in a very good way, Mr. Ryan McDonald. Ryan, great to see you. But I really want to give a great Fraudcast introduction to our new friend, and I invite her to introduce herself, tell her what's going on. Miss D, how are you? What's up? What brings you out to this corner of the internet? What bet did you lose?
Well, I lost the bet of stopping silos, so that's why we're here.
Hey, let's stop those silos. I love it. Tell us more.
So, hello everyone. My name is De'Airra. I have been in the banking industry for 10 years, and of those 10, I've been in fraud 5. So I'm still growing into the space. What I'm noticing about myself is I apparently love patterns, and so my mind works in identifying patterns, which is like, I guess, a secret superpower I have. Um, I currently work for a financial institution now, and Jared actually invited me. We had a lovely conversation last week, and as he, yeah, sorry, I'm like daycare today, but as he knows, and as you guys are aware of the increase in imposter fraud and other different silos in between industries, and so the reason I'm here is because I'm an advocate for breaking down those silos. They're either rotted or they're unnecessary now. And we need to figure out how we can take whatever abandoned intel that was still there and bring it to the forefront, because those are, I feel, a lot of the contributors to some of the fraud that we're seeing up and downstream. So that's where I fit in this fraud fight.
They are rotted or unnecessary. I think that's amazing marching words for everything that we talk about here. So it's a pleasure to have someone who speaks the language and speaks it so beautifully here. We are breaking those silos down, my friend. And what do we talk about, all of us? We're not fraud fighters anymore. I hate to break it to you. We're not fraud. We're revenue optimizers. We're getting our way into this entire business. We're not just hanging out in the basement anymore next to the cold beverages. Okay. So everything we talk about here is that. And the fact that you're in banking, I think our good friends Paul Azan, Riley Zuaro, they deal in the gift card space, the banking, the gift card space. I hate to put the rest of us people down here in e-commerce, but that's the real deal. That is where you get some wild style stuff. So if we're going to break down some silos, I think anything that comes down from banking might be great. And you don't need to raise hands. We're all family. You could just jump on in. What you got?
Well, I don't want to be rude, but in speaking of gift cards, there was one thing that I did want to bring to you guys' attention to see if anybody else has seen it or what you think. I was in the store just at random in Dollar Tree maybe a month or so ago, and I saw this card. It looked harmless until I opened it. There's an embedded gift card in there. So what they'll do is it's like a perforation where you'll take and peel it off, and then you can scan and you're able to load the card. And I immediately panicked because we know that social engineering and the elders are really heavily connected in imposter fraud. So what if the red flags we start looking at are no longer red flags? So the way I thought of it was, what if we start seeing an increase of like buying these cards and they're saying, well, they're for employees or they're for family, 15 cards. You're not going to think anything of it, but depending on the type of gift card that is, it's basically like laundering gift cards, if you will. So I was curious if anybody had ever seen that before.
Let's talk. We got a lot of omni-channel folks here who have their company's gift cards in, a Safeway or a, natural grocer. And we know about, it's not brushing, it's not scratching. What's the name of the scam when people know the number of the card before you put it in? I know some
Skimming?
genius here skip that, but bing, bing, bing. They see? That's stocked into Malone right there. That's what that is. It's a little stocked into Malone. Just dunk it. And then hanging by your elbow in the basket. Well done. So I know there's a lot of us here who are dealing with that. Do we have any advice for our new friend in terms of what's going on with our gift cards that are hanging out in stores, especially with regards to people who are perhaps called by somebody to go in and buy them? Anything like that? Would love to hear about it. This is what I love the most. This is what I love the most. Please, I'm going to take a sip of this ice cold Ogallala Aquifer water while we
So I
wait.
can jump in with that. Uh, what are known as open loop products, which are gift cards that can be used anywhere. So your Visa gift cards, your MasterCard, those co-branded ones, those go hand in hand with fraud, scams, money laundering, and yes, some are even using that as to pretend to be the IRS, and that's how you pay them. And they also target places that have marketplaces. So looking at your eBay gift cards, or even they love the Google Play and the Apple iTunes gift cards because they make fake apps that they have you transfer the money to. And where you start to see some of those things is anywhere that a gift card that a scammer can quickly flip or resell whatever products. Even just with the brands that we're partnered with, you know, alcohol, tobacco, in grocery stores, anything that they can resell, electronics, and when you have, especially in some of those where, oh, here, sign up here. This is where you put the billing address. This is where you check the balance. Some of those fraudsters that are tampering with gift cards, they will repackage it and put in a QR code or a website that does not match what actually is signed up to it. That's why I only go to whatever is actually printed on the card, and not just what little envelope is in it, because even we've seen our own the brands that even we carry that that they're on a shelf somewhere. Fraudsters took them, repackaged them, put different stickers on it, different phone numbers to call. So that is it's a part of a gift card tampering that it's usually called gift card draining. That's a big problem with a lot of those gift cards that you see. And even there have been some regulatory changes that actually went into effect this year in some states regarding that. And even now some states do require at the point of checkout to have that fraud and disclosure claim, which you'll see them at like the bigger box stores. That gift cards are meant to be gifts. They are not meant to be payments. So you should never ever be paying a bill or to get somebody out of jail with iTunes gift cards. It may seem obvious, but the social pressure is there.
Well, if I need the Beatles' Rubber Soul and I need it like today, maybe all I could really do is just call up some rando and have them go down to the Safeway and buy me an iTunes gift card. But let me just say this. Paula Zahn, remember the name, my friends. Okay. Shelly says the queen of gift cards. I think there's got to be something over that. Supreme leader, like absolute freaking living legend. I don't know what it is. So, Miss D, you just heard straight facts there. And Miss D also has a piggyback question, which I'm going to put out. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. This is you're on the hot seat, but it's very much a cool throne for you, my friend. Ms. D asks if there are enough reports that can be linked to these types of gift cards, to the vendor creating them. At what point would institutions or regulatory entities or the like hold them accountable? Hold them accountable, hold them accountable, hold them accountable. We know in this world that doesn't happen very easily, but at what point do they hold them accountable and request them to discontinue? My question is, why the heck do we even allow these things in the grocery stores to begin with? But if anyone's got an answer for that piggyback question, feel free. This is awesome, guys. You're cooking. Everyone is cooking here. I love it. You're firing me up.
So the open loop products, especially the ones that are Visa, MasterCard, American Express branded, those fall under PCI compliance with certain stuff. So you can be fined from the payment brands if you are not protecting the cards. But it also, those are ever evolving things that are happening, that even, as I said, there's been some new laws that have been passed this year, and there's probably even more legislation to come because of how bad it is. It is pretty bad. And that's why, like, even some that you have to have the full card numbers. If they're on a shelf somewhere, the full card numbers need to be masked. need to tokenize, and that's a part of it's an ever-growing kind of almost a forever moving goalpost, and that's even why some are moving away from magnetic strips and moving strictly towards digital and more alphanumeric code generation, and even that's why you'll probably get some, I know, especially, like Xbox, their codes are, I think, 24 characters long, alphanumeric. So there are billions of possibilities, plus having pins associated with that. So it's kind of the industry is ever evolving. It's quite possible, even a decade from now, gift cards might be EMV enabled. Even though that's very costly, but we may start seeing that, especially within those open loop products, the Visa and MasterCards, because I know this is a MasterCard. I believe that it's next year, 2027. Banks are no longer required to issue magnetic strip cards for MasterCard. I believe it's January of 2027. And then going forward to that, there's no hard date for prepaid products, but it's probably going to be shortly after that they're going to move away from magnetic strips, because that's where a lot of compromises come from, is the magnetic strip.
My mind's blown. I'll see you guys later. Ms. D, what do you think about this? And yeah, if your mind is similarly blown, you don't need to be eloquent or anything. You can give me thumbs up if your mind. Well, what are you thinking about this? Because you got Jared. This is like an amazing coaching tree right here. Jared with the assist, you coming on, and then you got Paula dropping facts. I think you got your master class already. I mean, and we're only 15 minutes in today. Look at that. Well, how you feeling?
So thank you so much, Paula, first off, because I definitely took notes. I feel like knowing that information will help me kind of route as a fraud specialist what I need to release the signal on, especially because I am very active on LinkedIn, and I do dub myself as an intentional disruptor, but not so much as disruption to cause chaos or to cause confusion. I like asking questions that's under the dermis, not to call anyone out or anything, but I have to know the why. And if I'm going to do something and it feels morally wrong, of course I'm going to question, does that really push for like ordinances or procedures or anything like that to be changed immediately? No. But if we really want to be part of that change, and we have to wait on certain things to be legally applicable for us to do, then we have to at least be comfortable having these uncomfortable conversations, because it does it does give light to a lot of vulnerabilities, a lot of gaps, a lot of fatigue, both system and with us. And I just I'm just a little underwhelmed that things are now starting to push where we need them to when these have been issues. It's just sometimes I feel like waiting until something happens really causes more of a detriment to everybody involved, regardless the progress we make, because we're still having to finesse and undo some of the damage that's been done, especially with customers that experience this every single day, and institutions too, because we're being targeted as well. So my mind's definitely churning for sure right now.
I'm not going to stop the churn, because I'm going to tell you two things real quick. Number one, three things. Number one, I love the disruption, right? And I'm maybe a little more on that chaotic side, so I tip my hat to you. Number two, how do you undo people, especially the elderly, who lose their life savings in a matter of hours from these kind of scams? It's disgusting. My good friend Mike is here. He knows me and him have spoken to some of these people, and it's like you're talking to somebody who just lost a family member in a tragic way. It's awful. They don't know what to do. They have no recourse. And all we can do is say, this happens a lot, and it's an awful thing to say. Number three, if we want to do something about it and no one's kind of helping us out, and we want to stop all of those kind of heartaches, I want to introduce you to my friend Ryan McDonald right here, because Ryan brings up a great point in the chat about how bad guys love to talk about this stuff. This is a common theme on the show, is that the worst among us, the ones who get away with it, they can't stop. They can't stop. They got to keep going. You could have had it at 100,000 and no one would have known, but you had to bring it up to 500,000. And now you're in the clink, my friend. We'd hope, right? But Ryan works for a company called Scope Now. Scope Now, in my estimation, has the best tool in the whole internet, in the whole computer here, in terms of finding out who's talking about this stuff, what they're doing about it. And not only that, they share their whole playbook. We're going to talk a little bit about one of those playbooks today around returns abuse. But Ryan, can you come off, say hi, and kind of talk about what you just posted in here? Ryan, Misty, Ryan.
Thanks, Vito. Misty, pleasure. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I was talking to Vito about this recently, how, when you take a look at it from 50,000 feet, the threat to the business happens before the fraud takes place. And then that turns into that poor user experience for the rest of us in the brand. And so when these vulnerabilities I've just found are identified, it looks small. There's really no pattern that's existing. But when it starts reoccurring and becomes a Klarna glitch or the Chase refund glitch or all that's, yeah, exactly. These guys want to sell that methodology and they can't help it because they're going to make so much more money off selling that to other fraudsters than they are likely succeeding in that fraud. I've found just with the little research I've done. So they'll go on to the social media channels, the dark web forums, the message boards. They link you to their Telegram, their Signal, their WhatsApp. Like it is all publicly out there the way they put this information, because that's the real value to their business. I'm finding is getting other people to expand that vulnerability against the business. So that's why I say in that is like, at what point does it become a fraud pattern and turn into an actual threat against the brand? And to your point, when is the responsibility come into play where the business mitigates the threat versus looking at it as a markable loss product, on their final report? Like that's not what we want. We want that threat to be mitigated because then the fraud potentially goes away for a little bit.
I hope this is at the beginning of a very fruitful relationship, y'all. So please feel free to talk amongst yourselves, as we used to say back in the day. Yes, Matthew.
Yeah. So Ryan, you've piqued my interest on that a little bit. I'm wondering if you have any like use cases of how a retail environment has used that and just walked us through the entire life cycle of that process, because like my thought is that sounds fantastic. I love that. But then being able to get leadership to sign off on doing something like that, right? Investing that money into people that are just yapping on the dark web, right? So like, I would love to kind of see that play out if you have something at some point that would be helpful.
Yeah. I mean, Matthew, honestly, the big thing that always conceptualizes that it's public information. The challenge there is the curation and management of it. And then, of course, corroborating that data to tell a story. That's super expensive. Anyone here that's had to search Google for information knows that's a hell of a day. It's really exhausting, okay? Because you can't trust a single source. You need multiple sources for anyone to do anything with that information. And so that's kind of the big thing, is getting the business to realize that's like, we're not doing anything unethical. We're just utilizing public information that's not necessarily accessible by Google, but is still public. And so from there, that's like where companies like Scope now are really great at providing a compliance safe way to do that. So on this, for example, what you're talking about is one of the easiest ways I found to do this is to either focus on the brand, so focus on the name of the company, or the financial institutions that are likely, quote unquote, facilitating the glitch a little bit, if you will, the payment company. You can look at things related to Chase, Citi, Bank of America. It always has a lot of interesting topics. And then from there, it's easy to find the other content that these people are posting and just kind of follow the trail of information. So that's kind of the first part, is like, you need to establish a foundation and find that content. And the way these people talk about it, you use their keywords against them to refine your search and find additional relevant content. And then you turn that into a really nice story. So I make it sound much easier than it is, but once you kind of start going down that rabbit hole, it just starts to flow really nicely when you're like, it's just, people love to tell on themselves. Like, that's the funny part I'm trying to get across, is people like to brag. We have egos. And so once you find that nugget, it's so not easy, but it's so just nice to be able just to, you know what I mean?
Let
So,
me get
Brian,
Gla-
is this like a open source intelligence or investigation? Is that what y'all are doing with Scope
Yeah.
now? More open source? Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. All right.
Let
Thank
me
you.
get-
I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up now.
No,
And I apologize. I'm not selling. I promise I'm not selling anyone. I just absolutely love the technology I work with and just how my customers get so much satisfaction and value and how it helps them. So I'm just blessed all the way around in that regard. So I promise I'm never trying to sell anyone. That's not my style.
I'm selling it because I used it and it's awesome. So glasses emoji in the chat. If you want Ryan to do a demo one of these days on the Fraudcast, glasses emoji in the chat. I've been trying to get him out. It's like trying to get tickets for Pearl Jam, my friends. He's flying Antarctica. He's hanging out in Gibraltar. This man is all over the world, my friends. We got glasses emoji in the chat. If you want Ryan to do a demo of this, it's very cool. And he's a humble guy. He's saying, I make it sound so easy. It is. I'm pretty stupid. You know this by now. Okay. And I'm able to go in there. I find all sorts of cool stuff, cool in like the worst way possible, but actionable things that can be taken to leadership, that we can build fraud policies around, that give us proof that people are doing things a certain way, because we have these gut feelings. We have these like kind of hunches, but when we see it laid out in layman's terms, here's how I take advantage of Acme Corp. You're like, I knew it, Buster. And now we're coming for you. So we got glasses emoji in the chat. We got Scope now in the chat. Ryan, you're on the hook, my friend. So
Yeah.
sorry.
I'll second it for you, Vito. Because of a recommendation from Vito, we had a conversation with Ryan. I had a conversation with Ryan and made my team that paid the bills on this product completely pivot from a different program to Scope now because it was better and cheaper. And now I get to spend a lot of quality time with Ryan. So there is that added bonus. I'm just letting you know.
That's why he's not coming out here. He's hanging out with you, Shelly. I knew it.
Obviously, I am taking all of his time now.
I love it.
We're looking forward to the presentation next Wednesday. Thank you.
2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We'll see you there.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how the service is down in Mexico City. We'll see. We'll see. Vito, I apologize. I have to drop
Look at that
podcast. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was looking at the time and I'm like, of course, I'm that guy. I'm that guy that says it. And oh, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Vito, you scared him away.
I did. And you know what? I have a slide that's going to talk about you. So you're going to have to watch the recording. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our good friend, Ryan McDonald. Everybody. Yes. As you enjoy the rest of your day, have fun in Mexico.
You guys make my week. So I just appreciate it. And Vito, as always, much love, my friend.
Much love, brother. Much love to the family too. Hey, have a great day. And for y'all, you know what? That's a good kind of segue into some things I wanted to show you. You know, let's talk a little bit about in the 2 minutes we have left here. No, we got a little more than that. Okay. By the way, I think you all know this already. There is a Slack channel. Miss D, we'd love to have you out there. If you use the fancy camera app, thingamajig on the phone, and you take a picture of this, it'll lead you right there. And you get all the intel you need and ask all the questions you want and all the puppy pictures that I can provide from the ranch here on that Slack channel. And you get your money's worth, put it that way. But I'm underplaying the value that our crew has here. Really awesome stuff. People like Emma, people like Shelly, people like Paula, everybody who is here just kind of lending their expertise into real world problems on the fly. So definitely recommend coming out. First, an apology. Okay. Last week, during the Fraudcast. Now, I'm proud to announce that I'm 3 years sober, okay? For anyone who's going through that kind of thing, I support you on that. Me and Booze never really were supposed to be friends, but I was not drunk, okay? I was severely jet lagged, and it was very hard to drive home, and I was kind of out of it. So if you thought it was a little like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, if you thought I was kind of being a little loosey-goosey, I do apologize. I will tighten up. I have tightened up. The hair is combed. I'm well rested. I've been walking on the treadmill. Okay, I'm good. I'm back. So never again, my friends, until I got to fly to parts unknown next time. So I do apologize if I was being a little wacky last week. Number 2, our favorite 3-letter word, MRC. Anyone else go into MRC? You have 46 days, 20 hours, 40 minutes, and I don't know. It took some 48 seconds. There you go. The old thing was blocking it. I will be at MRC along with my good friend Jenna. So we would love to see you out there. If you're going out, let us know. We got some special things planned. We'd love to invite you in on them. Some fancy dinners and such. So we would love to have fancy dinners and such with you there. It'll be a great time. Pro tip, and I'm bad because I might not follow my own advice. It sounds like your grandma's talking, but bear with me. Bring a humidifier. Bring the humidifier. You might get a little verklempt in there. When you're in that like space with the cigar smoke and and you're screaming at people in the hall, by day 3, you're talking like this. You don't want that. Okay. So pro tip, would love to see you there. Reach out to me and Jenna if you're coming. We'd love to make it super special for you. Okay. I do not have the funds to pay for you though. I'd love to. I will jimmy a door open in the back and you can kind of sneak in and we'll say we never met. That's about the much I could do in terms of getting you there. But would love to see you there. And if MRC is listening, I'm kidding. This is all, this is all just fiction. Okay. Also, by the way, I did read there's a lot of policies around podcasting and what's allowed and not allowed. And, me and Miss D were talking about being iconoclasts in some sort of way. I might need your help in bailing me out of podcast jail because I do feel like when I was reading the things that I'm allowed to do and not do, I might get in trouble. So come for the drama, come for the plot, as we say, my friends. We're family here. Stop me at any time. I had a little bit of a challenge for us, a little bit of a what would you do kind of thing. It's around a couple of orders. Wanted to see what y'all's guts are telling you, your expertise, etc. Because this is something that has been going on lately at my little side business. By the way, I'm leaving the fraud game. And I've opened Vito's Cool Clothing and Haberdashery over here in Amarillo, Texas. Okay. Or the parts of Texas that will remain unknown because I don't want to be doxxed by this very public, very widespread podcast. Okay. Vito's Cool Clothing and Haberdashery. This is what I've been seeing at my storefront lately. And I want to know how you'd handle it because it's really rankling me. It's really getting my goat, my friends. And here's what it looks like. This Jane Doe came in with order 8675309. I thought that was Jenny's order. For $363. Okay. Now, CVV matched, AVS matched. Billing and delivery were in Cincinnati. The IP address coming out of Louisville, maybe at Churchill Downs, buying some clothes from the haberdashery. Auth was a success. Everything looked hunky-dory. They put $10 off coupon on there. I give that to everybody who's come to the haberdashery for the first time. And it was her first time. Spends $363. Cool. She does it on July 9th. Lo and behold, July 27th rolls around and she puts a return request in for the slip dress and the strapless linen dress. I should know my own inventory and not fumble the words. But I don't blame her, right? We're always thinking, is it a medium or is it a schmedium? Like, I don't know what the sizes are going to be like. And she took the extra small and the extra small. And she said she didn't need either of them. Maybe she just didn't, the cut of the jib, as we say, right? Maybe it wasn't there, okay? So she put the return in. I'm like, cool, great, give you the return. Now, Hans, my customer experience guy, says, okay, first time buyer doing a return, we want to get them back here. So they immediately gave old Jane the 30% off one item discount. Cool. So Jane came back less than a month after making that return request and bought a whole bunch of stuff from the haberdashery. High-rise jean, tailor pant, the strapless jumpsuit. I love the strapless jumpsuit, okay? Not to mention that baby tee. I don't know what these things are, guys. You know me by now. I kind of wear the same things, okay? Anywho, lo and behold, November 1st rolls around. The drape top, the knit top, the tuckable tee all are being sent back to me. I'm a poet. I don't even know it. But this one stuck out to me. This time, instead of saying no longer needed, that tuckable tee was listed as significantly not as described. And when old Hans got it in the warehouse, he noticed that there was a little bit of a mustard stain on it. Okay. Now, I have a strict no mustard policy in the building, so I know it wasn't us. I think she might have had something to do with it, right? Anywho, Hans feels a little bit guilty here. Maybe he was eating the Wiener Schnitzel and he had the mustard on it. I don't even think a Wiener Schnitzel is a hot dog, but there's my American brain. Okay. So he doubles down. Not only does he do the 30% off, he gives her another 20% off orders 75 or more coupon. We need you back, Jane Doe. We need you to keep coming back. I'm sorry about the mustard. Da 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 da. Jane, lo and behold, comes back like a week and a half later, makes a huge order, the biggest one she's done, $668. Okay. But this time, 4 days later, a little Pavlovian response is happening here. You're getting your little science lesson here. A little Pavlovian response, I reckon, because all the high dollar amount stuff is returned. The slash top, too. And all of it is listed as significantly not as described. Now, I take pride in my haberdashery. I have really good pictures of this stuff. Like the colors, cerulean is indeed cerulean in my haberdashery. So I know I described it well. But now we've got 6 SNAD requests coming in on a return. I feel like it's Pavlovian. I feel like she knows she gets her money off. She gets that 20% off 75 every time she does this. So I say, no dice, no way, Jose. We're not giving you that instant refund, my friend, because Uncle Jeff Bezos is forcing my hand to do instant refunds on everything. I feel like this is just how I've got to do things. But I'm starting to think something's up. Okay, I'm starting to think something's up. Well, let me break something to you, my friends. This is actually a real world case. And it wasn't at my haberdashery. I'm not quitting my day job anytime soon, my friends. But in this case, the merchant saw this happening. The mustard stuff is real, but the names have been changed to protect the innocent. The merchant saw this kind of activity happening, and they said, you know what? Since this person is returning so much stuff, since they're using all of these promo codes and taking advantage of our goodwill, we don't want to kick them out of buying because they're not necessarily filing chargebacks, but they are draining our resources a bit. And when that mustard thing happened, we started to take another look at their kind of their ways. So we want people to take a look at the boxes that come in and make sure everything is copacetic. So they stopped giving instant refunds to this individual. They took them out of the rapid refund channel and into one where things needed to be investigated by the people in the warehouse. Lo and behold, they had, withheld the returns until the warehouse did their inspection. Jane kept buying. Jane kept buying and stopped doing the abusive behavior. Without the awkward phone call, without the legalese email coming through, this is to notify you that mustard stain really rankled my feathers wrong and you are no longer able to, without any of that. Pavlov, the dog, ringing the bell. No longer are we ringing the bell for Jane. When the bell rings, the bell tolls for thee, my friend. There it is. There's my John Donne for the day, okay? So we're withholding the refund. We're not giving them the instant refund, and they keep coming back. So loyalty is maintained. Our bleed is a little bit less, if not gone. And, we're still rocking and rolling. Mike, I bring this up to you because I think there's a lot of things this is like the culmination of this last month of us talking. There are a bunch of things to consider in the return space. It does not end or begin with us being fleeced or there being returns abuse or there being rocks in the box. There's something to be done with these things. John Donne, there we go. I'm looping it back, all right? My friend Jared was bringing up some awesome points last week. Good artists create, great artists steal. I stole some of these from Jared. Love you, buddy. Okay. How long has it been between the order and the return? Because here at Vito's Haberdashery, we've got Pony Express coming at you. But if they're returning things before they even get to their house, okay, like that's a little suspicious, right? The least and most expensive items in the order. Are they always returning the most expensive? Is it the least? Can we bleed a little on the least? Maybe there's a higher margin, etc. Things that only you know from your seat in the business. How many orders? How many returns? So on and so on, to quote my good friend Slavoj Žižek, and so on, right? These are the kind of features that you could write in your world of data to come up with these things. Having a primary identifier, how long that period. This is like best practice. I stole these from the very, very smart people that I work with. Okay. Best practices in writing a feature for your rule set, your domain of decisioning. Clip this, as the kids say. Screenshot this. Having that period of analysis, multiple identifiers, an event that triggers the analysis in general, and aggregating by count, by GMV, something like that. It'll give you at the very least, a data point that you can derive insights from and maybe not take that leap into the world of automated decisioning just yet. Here's how you do it, my friends. And this is how you pony up. BISD, we're talking about cross-threading. This is how you pony up to those folks in engineering, in data science, some of the people who are way more wizards of the web type folk. Very scientific right there. Talk this language with them. Talk about how they're doing this right now. Because you, my friends, are the experts in this domain. You might not be the experts in writing these kind of things and deploying them and doing all that fun stuff, but you know the customer better than anyone else. You know their patterns better than anyone else. And if you're using something like Scope now, shout out Ryan, you probably have intel as to what they're doing, how they're doing it, and the best way to foil them. By the way, I meant to bring this up. I met Ryan at MRC. That was the first time we ever met. And we're chums ever since then. So MRC is a great place to make friends. So there's things you can do post-purchase, okay? In the seconds that we've got left here, because I want to talk about this, whether or not you yield or elicit these instant refunds to the folks who are trying to make refunds, maybe it's got to be verified by the people in the warehouse. Or maybe you just say no bueno and you just say no refund for you. Selective appeasements. Our good friend Justin wrote the book on this, right? Maybe I'm going to credit a gift card for you rather than crediting your credit card, right? To keep you buying and not give you that kind of opportunity to truly fleece us and get free things instead of, staying loyal with us. You can do this on item level, order level. You could take away their shipping charges. You know better than me and better than this slide right here, all the myriad of things you can do. I'm sure you've got dreams as to what you could do in the returns world, but I know there's a distance between dreams and decisions. So what does it take to get you to cross that span, my friends? That's what we're here to talk about. Not what do you think, what would you do? And what do you want to do? And on that note, I'm going to take a sip of water and I'd love to hear from you.
I'll just try to.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Isn't that poetic? The two of you. I love it.
So this is something I've seen. I mean, the abusers target like the customer service teams, right? Whether it's through email or phone calls or whatever. And I've seen where the policy or in the SOPs, it says to issue, store credits. Oh, we're so sorry about the inconvenience. Here's $5 credits, right? $10. I've seen like the abusers push back on the agents and become very aggressive, verbally abusive, to the point of where the agents, like, they don't want to pour CSAT. They just want to stop the tickets from coming in. So they're just like, whatever, dude, I'll just give you $10 in cash. But the abusers will repeat that with every CX agent or CS agent that they come across. Just curious if any of you have seen that, how you handled that situation.
So I think this may be my wheelhouse somewhat because I used to work for disputes for Ally Bank. Sometimes I say this with much respect. I know the customer's always right, but I think it's important to note that sometimes in training, especially in call centers, because I've been there too, they try to emphasize call control, but that doesn't always happen that way. And sometimes people don't really have that temperament to handle that type of confrontation, because when you're working in the call center, you're going to reach some type of confrontation and some type of scrutiny. What I learned working in disputes, depending on the reason for the refund, the customers, it's like the small print. Nobody really wants to waste time on the small print, but the businesses protect themselves by their terms and conditions and the refund policy. What would happen is the consumer thinks that they have to jump straight to the merchant, and then if they don't get any resolve, they're going to go straight to the bank. But a lot of times what the customers don't realize is that if there's enough information in the presentment from the merchant that shows that they have their policies easily accessible, that if you, let's say, return an item that's over $50 or more, they'll either give you store credit or they'll give you, something that's of equal or lesser value, then they're upset more so because you have the tangible evidence to prove that, you're within reason, but because we're so focused on the customer experience and not the customer experience as it relates to protecting the business or the institution, then like the policy loses its integrity, and then you're always going to be out of money. And the chargebacks are a lot more risky, because then if they go to their bank and there's a chargeback, well, how many chargebacks can you really get before that processor says, hey, we're going to cut our losses and just cut you loose, because now you're seen as a risk. Then you lose more money because of production and things like that. So I feel like if there will be just a little more transparency in how that process works during training, that might help people to determine whether they actually want to stay in that job or not.
Amen. And raise your hand if you've also been in the call centers. My friends, I put my time on that floor. Yes, look at us. Look at this crew right here. We've been there. We've been there. Welcome to Open Table. This is Vito speaking. How may I help you? I had to do that all the time. Okay. Shout out Open Table. Great place. That's where I got into the fraud game. But Ms. D, you're spot on, because there's an SOP to maintain, but I've got my supervisor who really doesn't GAF about that SOP, if you catch my drift. This is a PG-13 Fraudcast, right? And they're saying, you've been on the call X amount of minutes, and someone emailed and gave you 0 stars. That guy could smell him through the phone, like all that kind of stuff. And I just said, I could circumvent that with my survival lizard brain by just giving them what they want. And then they give me the 5 stars, right? So better training for the supervisors who were there. I love what you mentioned about the ironclad legal document, right? That can kind of be there as a mediator between customer and customer support, between the person buying the things and the person who's like on the phone, to say, hey, look, I upheld this legal document, and in doing so, this person wasn't happy. So am I going to get like docked for this? Do I have to do the graveyard shift because of it? Or can you see that I was like protecting the company? Very important, very important. And let me say one thing here, and kind of in closing, which stinks. Got to make this thing like 9 hours long. Make it like Wagner's Ring cycle, right? I was thinking about Wagner there, and now I got sidetracked. Ms. D, you brought up the fact that we are weaving our way within these companies. Who better than everyone on this call, people who are quote unquote fraud fighters, really revenue optimizers, to consult in these kind of things, to get buddy with legal and say, hey, look, here's all the instances of people taking advantage of us. Here's how your documentation, your paperwork, your policies don't really cover it. Can we get this into a more prominent space on the website? Can we have a devoted page for this? And maybe we can incorporate this certain verbiage in there to protect ourselves. That's how you get yourself a little bit higher up on the totem pole, I think. And you're built for it. I know you. We go back a long time.
I just like to piggyback on that. And this is also something I advocate for, not because I'm a rebel or insubordinate, but I think if it would be legally possible, ethically possible for some of these processes or SOPs or what have you to really be looked at to see if they incorporate elements of legacy thinking, because we can update it to be applicable right now, but then when you break it down and really peel back and get to the bulb of the onion, could that potentially be the problem? Like, we're still building around and creating a silo, even though people may not think it's creating a silo, but there could be some facelifts going on. And it's like, just because it was built in the 80s or 90s or at the point of inception doesn't mean that it can't be changed. It's just, there needs to be more people in the mud that may have access to conversations where the information can filter down ethically. So that way they really know what's going on. Because sometimes managers or anybody that's at a higher level, they lose line of sight, not because they don't care, but it's just because their priorities are a little higher than that. And so that perspective, I feel like, would definitely help with that too.
Well, Ms. D, you know, he's an expert in that kind of maneuver that you're just talking about. It's the one, the only, our good friend, your new friend, Shelley, Ms. D, Shelley.
Ms. D, you have made some phenomenal and very, very valid points. Also, I'd like to point out, when you said silos, you had me at my heart, because I wrote my capstone for my master's on information silos and how they perpetuate fraud. So that I have a 32-page paper if anybody's interested.
I would love that. Like, I really would love that, because that would help in my argument too, for sure.
Fax machine emoji in the chat if you want Shelley to share the capstone. Fax machine emoji in the chat.
But I know we're over time, but I think there's a couple things that you talk about legacy data, but there's also legacy thinking that we need to get away from. MStat scores, or whatever you want to call them, member satisfaction, insert customer word that you use at your company here, is archaic and it needs to go away. They make them happy because they don't want a bad score. It's just like commission. They'll sell something to somebody who doesn't need it because they get a commission. Change your way of thinking. You can't, with all the ways that we have technology now, if somebody comes at you angry, we shouldn't even be paying attention to their MSAT scores. Look at language and those things. So anyway, there's that. Archaic. But also, you used a term that I hate more than anything. The customer's always right. And I love that we always think this way. And my counter to that is the customer's always after their own interests and don't give a hoot about you. How does that make them right? It doesn't. It just makes them determined to get what they want. I've been on both sides of it. I worked in a lot of situations, never a call center, but I did work in a major theme park and get yelled at a lot in person, which is a whole lot better than the phone, in case you're wondering. So, but yeah, so I think those are some of the things that we have to change and communicate. Yes, are we going to change the NSAF scores? No, because that's what everybody thinks is the most important thing in the world, that you made 99% of the people happy. Yeah, but how much did you give away for free to make them happy? And change that mindset. I don't know if that will ever happen in our lifetime, but I tell people all the time, there's a reason you can't make some people happy without giving them the moon. It's because they're wrong and now want to defraud you.
Sometimes in this entertainment business that I'm in showbiz, you just know when to drop the mic. I'm about to drop the mic right here because this has just been beautiful and brilliant. What a way to end it right there. You guys are really just the light in my life. I tell you that every week. I almost said bleeping. It's freaking true. It is really freaking true, guys. Love today. Miss D, thanks for coming out. Round of applause for Miss D for taking the plunge and hanging out with us. This weirdo and these brilliant people all day. Miss D, we'll hope to see you back. For everyone, Julie, Lynn, Paula, Bradley, Taylor, Tracy, Riley, Jessica, Miss D, Katerina, my friend Mike, my friend Shelly, Preston, Matthew, Jared, and my good friend Jenna. It has been a blast. I will see you next Wednesday. Hope to see you at MRC. See you in the Slack room. Have a beautiful and blessed one. Great rest of your week. Take care, y'all.